I'm Susie Miller and I am the Alternative Divorce Guide. Part of my role as the Alternative Divorce Guide is to show you different ways, different strategies, different shared stories of people who have found different ways of moving through this amazing life change that you're going through, and helping you keep hold of the vision, which, let's face it, your main vision is always going to be to protect your children, to create a working, functioning, happy, extended family, even though at the moment that might seem impossible, but to have the faith to know that that can happen, and to just know step by step what are the key steps to take in the right order, and only use the experts that you actually need when you need them. And that is the map, if you like, the travel guide that we create together through the Alternative Divorce Guide. People going through breakup, they often think it's a legal or financial set of decisions, and there's certainly that involved. But the real problem is that you're all over the place emotionally. You're frightened, you're scared, you don't know what to do next. You're often very angry, very, very hurt. And a lawyer and a financial advisor can't help you with those things. But if you don't take control of that part of the process, if you don't create some kind of a map of what to do first, getting in the right help, the right kind of expert help, then it's going to be a potentially very disastrous situation for you and your children. So what I do as the Alternative Divorce Guide is help you create that map of the journey. This is a new landscape, you've never perhaps been here before, so my job is to help you understand what can happen, who you can talk to, what kind of resources there are. It's amazing how much there is out there that can help you in the form of expert advice or just free resources on the internet. But how do you find them? Well, I can give you some shortcuts to those resources, and also help you find the resilience and the confidence to decide how you should proceed, because everybody's family breakup is different. Everyone's experience will be different. There is no neat way to go through this life-changing process. So my job really is to help you create your own map, your own journey, and I'll be the guide for that. What I discovered the hard way when I found myself on my own with my kids was that the biggest problem is not knowing who to talk to first, what kind of advice is the right advice, a lot of different voices telling you to do different things. And at the heart of it, wanting to know that you're going to do the right thing by your children. It was definitely the most frightening and horrible experience I have ever experienced. But very soon I managed to just really by talking to people about it and getting advice, I began to realise that the only person who's going to get me out of this fix was me. And the variety of advice around me, some of it was very positive. Sometimes you hear things from people who mean very well, but actually could be quite destructive. So what I learned from my own experience is that it's very important that you do talk to the right people, and that you look at the whole thing very holistically. You don't just think about, through a fear mentality, I might lose my house, I've got nowhere to live, I need to get money off their dad, and get caught up in this horrible space where you forget that you're also co-parents. You have a duty and a responsibility together to co-parent your children, irrespective of whether you're living in the same house or not. So as I learned to separate myself financially but still co-parent together, that's what I do offer effectively through my role as the Alternative Divorce Guide, because I realised there wasn't anyone else really doing that. There's all these different areas: legal, financial, well-being, parenting, and I realised there was a need to bring that all together in a way that was very accessible for people whilst they're going through sometimes the most scary and traumatic time in their lives. So what they need is something very clear and very simple and very nurturing, actually. That's a very important part of it.
One family, the Millers, have been telling us how they're going to spend their Christmas morning.
I'm Susie Miller. This is my daughter Sydney, my son Joseph and Henry, and this is Chris, my ex-partner.
Is there such a thing as a happy breakup? Joining me now, Susie Miller. She's a breaking up expert, partly, Susie, because you've been through it yourself, big time.
I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a life coach, but I do know what it's like to find yourself standing outside your house with 3 small children, the relationship over, and completely bewildered and not knowing what to do next. There's no point trying to make intelligent decisions about the finances and the legal side of things if you're in a state of fear and anger. What I offer as a guide are lots of suggestions and ways and examples of how you can move through the psychological and emotional processes that you will go through and recognise them and begin to take responsibility for them. A key part is to go from feeling a victim, which is quite natural because you do feel like that at the time, to becoming more empowered than you can imagine. Do I want to waste loads of money on an adversarial divorce? I understand that I'm angry, part of me wants revenge, but I'm looking at my kids and thinking, well, it'd be better to keep some of that money towards their education. And people sometimes say to me with things like mediation and collaborative law, these choices that keep you out of court, first they don't know about them, so I make sure people get that information, but also they feel that they can't do them because the other person won't talk to them or won't interact. There's lots of strategies and ways of dealing with these situations, so you don't need to sit there thinking, oh God, this is how it is and there's nothing I can do to change it, because that's not true. The first thing people need to investigate when they are in a family breakup situation is how to become emotionally, psychologically independent as well as financially and legally. And just because you may choose to have an independent life and live in a different place, that doesn't mean you can just cut all your ties and abandon the other parent of your children. And that's something I'm very passionate about. And the journey to be able to co-parent successfully and to deal with all the difficulties and the challenges that come up when you're going through a family breakup are an amazing learning experience. It is the most traumatic, one of the most traumatic things you can go through, but it can also be the beginning of a whole new life. I cannot tell you how many people, and this is one of the reasons I'm sitting here now, how many people I've seen go through what was the worst thing that's happened to them and yet have started a new business that they wouldn't have started otherwise, have found a better way to communicate to the parent of their children and actually got on much better with them over a period of time. It is not a 5-minute fix, I promise you. These things do take time. And so their lives have, in many ways, as a family, have improved. So they go from thinking initially that they're a broken family, but actually what they've become is an extended family. I found that I was able to go through the process and put my kids first, make lots of mistakes, but still end up with a co-parenting relationship with my kids' dad that is healthier than I ever thought I could imagine to have created, and I didn't do it on my own. Just because your ex may have, maybe there's been infidelity, or maybe there's been all kinds of horrible stuff that's happened in the past. That's the past. And it is incredible, almost a miracle really, how you can create new relationships with people out of the ashes of the old. And the process of learning how to do that is a real gift. So I can't honestly say I regret anything that's happened to me, because it's allowed me to be here where I am now. And I'm always learning. I'm learning from everybody I come into contact who's going through this amazing life change that is family change, because I don't call it breakup anymore, because it's usually the beginning of something new, which can be very positive.